Joining me now is Democratic Senator Andy Kim of New Jersey. Senator Kim, thank you so much for being here. The shutdown is dragging on. Constituents are going to get angry about these airport security lines. Is this going to force Congress, Democrats in particular, your party, to change their approach?
Well, I know Kristi Noem wants to change the subject, and that's in part because she was humiliated with her leadership in Minnesota, removed by the White House. And now she's trying to find other things to be able to make us think about. Look, right now, the American people are furious still about ICE, furious about what happened in Minnesota. And it's not just there. You know, I was just back in New Jersey. ICE is trying to open up a warehouse detention facility that is 8 times larger than a football field. This is something that's in a Republican town that voted for Trump. And they called me, brought me in, and said, save our town, help us save our town. They don't want this there. They are furious at the Trump administration. Nobody.
So it sounds like no, Democrats won't change their approach.
Well, because we need to be responsive to what the American people are concerned about. And right now, the Trump administration is hoping that the American people are going to move on from what happened in Minnesota, not worry about that anymore. And they need to hear loud and clear that that is not happening, that the American people are still furious about the killing of American citizens in our streets.
We've seen how shutdowns drag out in the past. Oftentimes, it's the travel nightmares that leads to change in Congress. Is that going to happen this time?
Well, look,
you're going to get a lot of people burning up your lines saying, Senator Kim, I waited 2 hours, I missed my flight.
Well, what I'll tell you is they are, certainly going to be affected by this one way or another, because this is what this administration is trying to push on. We saw the news that, Kristi Noem's also making changes at FEMA and trying to make it such that that's going to be more difficult when the disaster relief fund is still there with billions of dollars. FEMA should be able to do the work as needed. And this is something where Kristi Noem, if we remember, she actually said she wants to eliminate FEMA. She wants to abolish FEMA. And now she's pretending like she's been its biggest champion. So this administration is trying to weaponize our government, trying to make things intentionally more difficult for the American people as political leverage. And the American people see that.
And you think this is going to drag on for some time?
Well, it's only going to drag on if the White House continues to hold back on engaging in negotiations. That was the whole purpose of this, was to have negotiations, serious negotiations. And that is what the American people want to see. They want to see real change when it comes to ICE on the streets. They don't want these roving patrols. They don't want to have to carry their passports around for fear of getting stopped.
We know there have been some counter-offers and offers on both sides between the White House and leadership. Doesn't seem like they're anywhere close to a deal. I do want to move on to tariffs because in the aftermath of this big ruling on Friday, there's been a lot of questions about the $134 billion that the administration has taken in as a result of these tariffs. What do you think the administration should do? Now they have this money, but this ruling came down. What should they do with the $134 billion?
Oh, that's easy. I mean, this administration took money out of the pockets of American families, upwards of $1,700 per family. They should give it back. They should give it back. We can have, and we're working on legislation that would be able to have this refund back to the American people.
Like checks to Americans? Is that what you're suggesting?
The process we're working through this, but that's exactly what we need to be pushing towards, is just getting this back to the American people who are struggling. Again, I was just at a town hall back in New Jersey this past week, and just affordability continues to be the top issue that they're worried about. And it's not just the American families, the small businesses that have been hurt. This is something where the American people see crystal clear the damage that Trump has done to them. And
so Democrats are working on legislation to provide this money back to the American public in some fashion.
Yeah, that's right. And this is a real breaking point for the Trump administration. This Supreme Court ruling wasn't just a ruling against their work on tariffs. This really was a ruling that stands against Trumpism as a whole. It really shows and pulls the rug out from underneath this president, showing just how hollow and damaging his policies are.
Yeah, I want to move on to Iran, because you were at a town hall last week and you were talking to your voters about this issue, about the threat of striking Iran. This is one moment I want our viewers to watch.
Look to this crowd right now. Raise your hand if you want to see our country go to war with Iran next. Raise your hand if you think that if a president is going to take military action, that they need to hear from the voice of the American people and be able to bring this before Congress.
So what would the implications be, Senator, if the administration went ahead with the strike on Iran?
Well, first of all, it'd be unconstitutional. It'd be against what our Constitution lays out in terms of the powers that Congress has alone. But it is also something that fundamentally puts our nation, puts our service members in particular, in harm's way. You know, I worked in national security. I served as a civilian embedded with the military in Afghanistan. I worked in Iraq. I spent years trying to counter Iranian actions. So I see the threats that they have. But taking an action like this, what the president is ramping up towards. We have 2 aircraft carriers out in the region, over 10 destroyers. I mean, this is a buildup unlike anything we've seen since the 2003 Iraq War. And he's doing this without having even consulted with Congress, hasn't even made a case to the American people. Like a fundamental question, like what is his objective? What is he trying to achieve? He has yet to lay out anything. And that just puts our service members, and I hear from their families, they're worried about their sons and daughters being put into the middle of a war in the Middle East without an understanding of what we're trying to achieve.
But wasn't the attack, I mean, the administration argues what happened last June when the U.S. attacked the 3 nuclear sites in Iran, they said they were successful. They set back the nuclear program of Iran. Was that a successful attack?
Well, look, they said that was successful, set them back years, and now what? We're right back in it a couple months later. They're thinking about something even more significant, a sustained military action, and the idea that we could get pulled into this. For what purpose are we looking to do? Or is it trying to do regime change? You know, especially after what we saw with Maduro, but setting into motion that could very well take actions, for instance, like allowing the IRGC Quds Force to then come into power and seize control of the country. This is a situation where there are many possibilities that could be even worse than what we are experiencing now. And the signaling to these protesters, what if they go back into the street and likely get massacred again? What does that say about American credibility? We saw this in 1991 in Iraq when the president back then encourage some uprisings. This is something that isn't going to play out well, and it's again going to put our service members in harm's way.
I do want to ask about Tuesday, the State of the Union address. There are a lot of Democrats skipping this address. Are you going to skip it?
I'm going to be there at the Capitol.
You will be.
You know, I'm going to. Here's what I'll say.
Well, can I just ask you before you say that, because we've seen theatrics, we've seen heckling, we've seen last year Al Green, the congressman from Texas, went down the aisle and was taunting Trump over Medicaid cuts. He was escorted out. We've seen people, Democrats last year, they had signs heckling Trump. Should Democrats do that this year? Should they heckle him?
What I hope to see is that Democrats, we know our power, right? This is a president that is coming into a State of the Union at his weakest point in his presidency. He just suffered this major setback by the Supreme Court. The American people have turned against him so clearly after what happened in Minnesota. This is a weakened president. This is going to be Donald Trump's final State of the Union before a Republican-controlled Congress. I am certain of that. And we need to show, and the Democratic Party, that we understand what it means to be able to take control of power in Congress.
So no outbursts, no outbursts.
I just want us to show the seriousness of what we're trying to do, and not just what we're opposed to with Trump, but that we're going to have our own agenda. We're going to be positive in terms of what we're showing the American people, especially on the issues of affordability, which is top of mind. So whatever we do, I don't think everyone has to be at the Capitol. As long as we are all using every tool in our toolbox to get the message out about the lies that he's going to say at the State of the Union, as well as what our message is, and all the focus is on winning in November, taking back control, and having a very different State of the Union next year that shows the Democratic Party moving forward against this dangers and damages of Trump.
Well, I appreciate you coming in. It sounds like you're not in favor of those outbursts and the theatrics that we've seen. That was my takeaway from your response. But Senator Kim, thank you so much for talking to me this morning.
Thank
really
you.
appreciate your time.